All right. There he is after day one in free agency. We got people walking on the ledge and diving right off. Yes. What's up, man? What'd you think?
Well, Big O, I guess I lost a bet to you. I owe you maybe, I don't know, like a 0.1 Bitcoin or something. Because Christian Wilkins is gone. You were right.
That's a lot of money.
I know. That is a lot. All right, we'll cut it down to like 0.01 Bitcoin.
Oh, you mean the Christian Wilkins stuff? Oh, bro,
yeah. You were right. You had me. You put it on the record and what my prediction was, so I was wrong. Really, in reality, since you're the host and you're so kind to me, bringing me on all the time, I wanted to make you look good. So that was the thought process there on my end.
I appreciate that, my brother, but I think we fortunately, we predict a lot of things that end up happening on the Dolphins here on this show. So that's just one of the many. And what'd you think of that contract? Because one of the things I explained before you came on, he's got more mileage than every other defensive tackle that was available because he doesn't come off the field. He's 29 years old. And as I've said from the get-go, I know he had the 9 sacks, but if you break down the sacks, they were against mostly the bad teams. And his run defense actually suffered a little bit because he was chasing the sacks. To me, it wasn't a contract that was responsible. And I know about what happened last year, that they were apart at that point. And that, to me, that's where it ended. It was done at that point. They weren't ever going to get to a point because they knew what his market was and they knew that it was going to get crazy. And sure enough, it did. So for me, I understand not re-signing him. I think he's not worth that money when you factor in everything and what they have to do down the line, because next year they've got Waddle and they've got Holland and they've got Holland, Waddle, Phillips that they're going to make some kind of decision on. And then obviously they still got to do the Tua deal. So they've got a lot of things, on the table, even though some of those deals, including Tua's big number, won't come in until 3 years from now. So, none of the decisions today had anything to do with Tua, because his real big money ain't coming until a couple of years from now. So that's not a big deal. But your thoughts overall on the Wilkins deal?
Yeah, $27.5 million per year is a steep price to pay for Christian Wilkins, and same goes for the contract of Robert Hunt. So the Dolphins, in their cap situation, they weren't going to hit those markers. Now, the reason why it hurts is just how Christian Wilkins was such a foundational piece to this rebuild, as that first draft pick when the Dolphins in 2019 went in that direction to rebuild the rosters, start doing it through the draft, 2019, then 2020 draft and 21, before then shifting to adding all the pieces through trades and free agency, all the big names from the outside. So Christian Wilkins was sort of at the core of starting it internally and building through the draft when the Dolphins were doing that. So then it hurts when you lose those draft picks, those guys that you developed from within. And same goes for Andrew Van Ginkel. And then Brandon Jones was also a draft pick, and Robert Hunt was one. And Xavier Howard and Jerome Baker were drafted by this organization. So it kind of wiped clean a whole range of years where the Dolphins did draft and have drafted fairly well. Now you're going into a situation.
Wait. Chris Greer can't draft. No, they can. I mean, only his players got, $250 million yesterday. No, but he can't. Yeah, come on. Brandon Jones, bro. Brandon Jones. I did not see that one coming. Holy shit. God bless him, dude. I mean, this, for those people that think he can't draft, I mean, there you go.
Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, those were that was a core that you built through those drafts. And then now the Dolphins, they were in this all-in mode. And then it sort of feels like it was a half step, like, okay, now back off of it a little bit, because so far it's only gotten us 2 playoff appearances as a 6 and a 7 seed, no playoff wins. There were a lot of injuries that had to do with both of these scenarios, but it sort of felt like a step back, like a cautious approach of not committing fully all in when you were so deep into it. So now it's kind of like, okay, also let's not mortgage the future entirely with these deals. So it wasn't really I was kind of hoping there would be one more year of let's put everything together for the best roster possible in 2024. But also you got to be responsible and know you're not paying Christian Wilkins that and handcuff himself for the future. Robert Hunt, same deal with that contract.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the Rob Hunt contract, I mean, it got out of control yesterday, with the guards. And so I would imagine that if you bring back Connor Williams, he can play guard, and you can keep Brewer at center, or Eichenberg becomes the guard. I don't know how it's going to play out. One of the two. They have some options now. Again, I don't know. Maybe Connor Williams wants to come back and he wants to be a center somewhere else or something. I don't know. But he's not going to have nearly as many options because of the injury.
Right. Yeah, he won't. And he'll have his free agency put on the back burner. So, I mean, that maybe ideally for the Dolphins, that could be settled in June when the Xavier Howard release money hits, and that would be very ideal for Miami. But you have some flexibility now because Aaron Brewer, he's brought in as a center most recently, and also has guard experience, both left and right. So there's a guy who, and Christian Connor Williams, he had to be moved to center from guard, so maybe that's where he would feel more comfortable. And it was always sort of a thing, like he moved to center for this organization. So, and he had the snapping issues intermittently in between. So maybe a return to guard could be good for him. And right now he's just focused on the rehab. But then if months down the line that gets settled, and ideally after June when the Dolphins get that surplus of money, the $18.5 million from the Xavier Howard release, then that could really work out well. So, but also look out for maybe the Dolphins adding another interior offensive lineman in the draft before all that happens.
All right. So Weaver, I would imagine, came into this decision just like Butch Berry did with Aaron Brewer, probably. Do we give AVG the money, or would we rather get a Jordan Brook? And obviously they felt like, let's put that money into Brook instead of AVG. Plus, I didn't want to lose AVG. I'm a huge AVG guy. But I'm thinking Liz Frank, he's going to be 29 years old this year. He won't be ready till training camp. This is a tough decision for the Dolphins to make, and it's a really, really tough decision for Minnesota to make, because you better bank that he's going to come back from that Liz Frank injury. And if he doesn't come back like himself, then that contract's not going to be any good. And I know he's a character guy and he'll work his ass off and all of that. But I thought that when you think about it, at first I hated to lose him. But then I looked at it and I said, okay, the coach must have played a part in this. He must have liked Brook over AVG. Plus, he has a new defense he has to put in. He'll have Jordan Brook every day there to install that. He will not have AVG there. And so all these kind of things I started to weigh in last night, and I said, now I understand what this move is all about, because really there was so much question on the AVG side compared to for Jordan Brook, who's established, proven, and you're getting a really good football player already.
Yeah. Anthony Weaver is really getting full range to build this defense the way he wants it, because it really is, I mean, a lot of the out with the old. So it's, and I mean, the guys that are still around are guys that he can work with no matter what. So, I mean, you have Jalen Ramsey, who he's going to be more willing to move around and utilize better than Vic Fangio. And you have your Javon Holland, you have your Zach Sealer up front. So, guys that he knows, Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb will be back eventually. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do at that edge position now, because, we were talking about it on this show that Andrew Van Ginkel was such he had to be a priority for this Dolphins team in free agency, just because you don't know what you're going to get out of Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. And if you're ever going to have them to start the season, they probably start off training camp at least on PUP, and then that could even bleed into the start of the regular season. So right now, you theoretically, what do you have on the edge? So you're going to need to make some moves there, possibly in the draft, and then also maybe a free agent pickup, especially now that you don't have that depth with even when you have JP and Bradley Chubb in there without AVG. But Jordan Brooks, I like the move. I mean, hard-hitting linebacker, He's a run stopper. He's more of that traditional inside linebacker. Him and David Long next to each other. That's going to be a stout combination there. So maybe that's the Dolphins' sort of Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen combination. We talked about Patrick Queen at length here, how good of a fit he could have been to be next to David Long and the Anthony Weaver connection. So maybe he's building his own combination there. And interesting to see that he starts at inside linebacker and how to build this defense. When you see all these other positions, cornerback is a premium position, edge rusher, premium position. Dolphins do have their guys there once they're healthy, but to start with inside linebacker, in an offseason where the Dolphins are a little bit strapped for cash, though, but starting there with how he's rebuilding this defense.
I like the Walker guy for depth. Off. I actually think I'm sorry, but he's going to be their best linebacker off the bench. So and all the other guys, I have much respect for Duke Riley and especially his off the field game. Whoa, yeah, Duke Riley. But anyway, no, seriously. And he's such a good dude too, man. God, he's one of the 5 best players to talk to on that team.
Oh yeah.
Just talking football, Jesus Christ, dude, that guy is just freaking awesome. You know what I mean? But I actually think they improved their backup linebackers by adding Walker. He's going to be their best backup linebacker. That's just me.
And Walker, a great locker room guy in his own right. He's worn the C on his chest in Cleveland, so he's had captaincy there. He's been a Walter Payton Man of the Year guy, so a nominee that for the Browns. He's a Miami guy, so it's going to mean something to him coming back here. Not far from the stadium, playing high school football at Monsignor Pace before going to Northwestern. So smart guy too, Yeah. I'm going to be really interested in talking to him for the first time whenever we do get interviews lined up for that. And I had a guy who's also communicated to the defense from the inside linebacker position, wearing the green dot in the past. So, Jerome Baker was that guy in the past. So whenever he is in the game, he could do that. But it also makes you wonder what is going to happen to Duke Riley, because the Dolphins, I think the number is $2.5 million they could save with a release of him now. So you add these 2 inside linebackers. You already got David Long there. Duke Riley sort of could be on the chopping block now, similar to how we've mentioned Jeff Wilson in the same light if they add a running back. So those are a couple names now I'd still be looking out for as far as potential cap casualties.
It's when you add these new coaches, things change, bro. Players change, and because some players will fit, some players won't. And it's like the Aaron Brewer thing. We're hearing people, and then, like Titans fans, and people are retweeting Titans fans. Oh, he's terrible. And it's like, and one of the things I've talked about for several years is linemen cannot be measured from one team to another, because I talked to a couple guys last year that told me Kendall Lamb sucks. Okay. And last year, one of my buddies from New England told me Isaiah Wynn can't play. Dante Scarnecchia couldn't get him to play. Well, guess what? He was playing well here. You know what I mean? Austin Jackson turned his entire life around with these guys. So it's like they must see something in Aaron Brewer that fits perfectly with what they do. So let's wait till he actually takes the field, and then we can find out. Maybe he actually has all clean snaps, and he can get to the second level really quickly, like what you need to do in this offense. So let's let it play out first, because linemen are a weird thing. You do know that Michael Dieter had a good year for the Houston Texans?
Yes, he did. Michael Dieter had a good year, and everyone in Miami would have told you that he sucks. And even Connor Williams 2 years ago, Dallas Cowboys fans were pleased to see him walk away. They were so ready to hand him his walking papers. So and Connor Williams fit very well here and making even transitioning positions, and then still needing to fix the snaps. But and then
if you try to predict linemen, you're going to get burned most of the time, because we all have to be honest. We really don't understand exactly what they're seeing, and what I'll give you something I learned 20 years ago at I think it was the East-West Shrine game. So I'm sitting there with an offensive line coach. Actually, I'm standing there because I'm on the fence. No, we're on the sidelines. Right. Yeah. East-West back then. Yeah. We were right on the sidelines. There was no fence. So I start asking him about the alignment coming into the draft, and I go, what do you see here and this and that? And he goes, all right, initially I got to already work on his eyes. And I go, what do you mean I got to work on his eyes? And he goes, yeah, when he makes an impact, he blinks. I can't have linemen blink when they have contact because the second they blink, they miss the next twist. Did you know that?
That's
Did you know
and he's talking about a literal blink.
a blink?
Yeah.
A blink.
Yeah.
A fucking blink.
Yes.
And I'm looking at him like, are you serious? He goes, yeah, you damn right I'm serious. I need him to keep his eyes open in the entire contact because I need him to follow the player. And if you brace and you because it's human nature.
Yeah.
It happens to you. You brace for a car accident. There's a close of your eyes. And he explained that to me. And I'm like, and if you think you know, you don't. You just don't, because they look at everything, hand placement, where their foot is, if their ass is too low, if their ass is too high. Brother, there is a technique to it. And they scrutinize every little thing. A blink, bro. A blink.
A blink. I wonder what drills you put your linemen through to get them not to blink. Like you got to work on some. I'm about to.
That's something you have to make him conscious of.
Right.
That's all it is. But he goes, I got to work on that already.
Yeah.
And so it's like, before we got to the arms too long, short, too long, too small, fast, slow. He can move to the second level. This guy can only block in a phone booth. All the other things that they start telling you about. But that's the thing. When you start thinking that you don't. You don't. They are looking at it at a completely different level than you and I are. And so that's why I when it comes to linemen, I try to kind of stay away from that prediction stuff because I've seen too many suck in one place and be excellent somewhere else. And it happened. And we've lost linemen that we didn't like. And then they went out and Jerry, he had a decent career after he left us. Billy Hunter, decent career after he left us, actually. So, things like that happen. And sometimes you have a guy in camp and then he's gone and he's shined somewhere else. And that's because he found the right coach and the right scheme, and it goes with his talents. And that's why I'm saying the Aaron Brewer one, brother, pump the brakes. Take it easy. Look what they did last year. They must know something. They must. And by the way, if it does end up hitting $7 million per year for your center, that's a steal, dude.
Yeah, it is. And Aaron Brewer, he'll have some questions in his pass protection, but he's a good run blocker, very agile. So that fits already. Wide zone blocking. He can get out to the outside when they're running that way on the perimeter, get to that second level. So that's the type of center that you need. Some of the other centers, like a Bradley Bozeman, for example, wouldn't have exactly fit. He's more of that phone booth. He's not very agile at the position type of blocker. So, it's a great fit when you look at it just from that perspective. And I'm definitely giving offensive line coach Butch Berry his freedom in this move, where he accept who he's bringing in and go ahead and take them to the next level. And it's really the first time in a lot of years, probably the past decade, where the Dolphins have the same offensive line coach for back-to-back seasons. So that's been a revolving door. So, just a continuity from the coaching staff there, and then giving Mike McDaniel and Butch Berry the freedom to go ahead. Yeah, grab the guy that you feel is going to fit. I trust them in that role.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. All right, so what are you expecting now? Where do you think they're going?
Yeah, now there's still a lot of holes, especially on that defense. So, they addressed the inside linebacker starting there, addressed tight end already before free agency with the Jonnu Smith signing. So let's not forget that one, as we kind of now put everything under that happened Monday in a microscope. So I'm looking at, all right, cornerback, safety now, because you already lost Brandon Jones. You still have Deshaun Elliott. So now in the secondary, defensive line, you're going to need to address now, especially with Christian Wilkins finally officially gone. and maybe they built through the draft there, but there's still a lot of holes all throughout that defense and edge defender. So all these spots, eventually you're going to need to lock in your backup tackle, whether that's Kendall Lamb, who is a free agent, or if you find something else better, where you're going to have games where a backup fills in for Teron Armstead there at left tackle. All these
Kendall Lamb is like our Stolars in the Panthers, bro. We can't let go of his ass. We got to bring him back, man.
Lock him up. Lock him up.
With Teron Armstead, you have to have a capable tackle behind him, unfortunately, because Teron Armstead cannot play a full season. Let me ask you on Teron Armstead. They adjusted his contract. I wonder if they made it a little bit more friendly for the Dolphins to get out of it because he was already contemplating retirement. I'm wondering if this is his final year now, and then they kind of rework that deal. Do you know anything about that? Because that's what I'm really intrigued about.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything out there on what the specifics of the contract are, but I would imagine that's got to play into it because it'd be common sense. If he was contemplating retirement this seriously, as it appears, where he took it potentially to this last weekend before free agency, and that was sort of the deadline. Chris Greer was expecting it well before free agency, even when he spoke at the combine. So, if it was really as close of a call for him, then maybe he is thinking, this is my one last dance. This is my Dwayne Wade going out party. He's just playing out this season. So if that's the case, then yes, I would think it's got to be so that they can get out of it easily, assuming that this is his last year.
I wanted Derrick Henry and Patrick Queen. One of the things that I obviously the Patrick Queen one ain't going to work now with the way they made the move now, but the Derrick Henry one, you just saw Aaron Jones get $7 million only, okay, and Green Bay let him go to sign another guy and Cook on a cheaper deal, 2 years per year. I think it was 6 instead or something like that they're paying. They didn't pay a lot. And so running backs aren't getting paid a lot of money. So Derrick Henry is not going to get paid a lot of money. He's not going to get what Josh Jacobs got. Okay. So what they are going to ask, and I think this is the problem with this now and why I won't get my wish. An agent for the free agent says to Chris Greer, hey, we'd love to play in Miami too, but let me ask you something. How many carries is he going to get? You got 2 guys in Mostert and Achane. Those guys, one guy led the league in touchdowns, the other guy led the league in yards per carry. You got 2 receivers in Tyreek and Waddle. You just added Jonnu Smith. How many carries is my guy going to get? And that's a question that the Dolphins are going to look at the agent and go, because it's gobbledygook. It's bullshit. You can't really tell the guy we're going to give you 20 carries because there aren't 20 carries to be had. And so I kept thinking about it, and I'm like, I don't think they're going to spend top notch on a running back because then you're setting your other running backs back. And then you also have a passing game too. And so it just kind of takes it off kilter. And maybe you're hoping for Brooks or a third day guy that you add to kind of add a little more punch to the running game. So what do you think about my thinking on this?
Yeah, that's why I'm not necessarily putting running back among the needs for the team per se, as far as just the positional group, because you have your Mostert and your Achane there. But it's kind of a need as far as just having a power runner for short yardage situations. And if you brought in a Derrick Henry, which would be the most elite option as a short yardage power running back, even at 30 years old, then it would be with an understanding that he's going to be situational here. And it's going to be where you're limiting his snap count, his carries, and also it's going to limit how much you're rotating in Mostert and Achane. So it's really going to be all 3 of those guys are going to see. I mean, there might be games where none of them are in double-digit carries, and you're still running the ball nearly 30 times in that game. So That would have to be the understanding, and that the contract would reflect as such. And that all the running backs will have roles, and then if one of them gets injured, then someone else's role gets amplified, and etc. And that there still have to be a lot of targets that go to Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Jonnu Smith, and a third wide receiver too. So it would be a very an offense that's just loaded with weapons, but everyone's just got a limited role where they're just expected to fulfill their job for those few opportunities that they get and do it at a high level.
All right. By the way, my prediction, I think we're going to see maybe somewhere on the line, O or D line, and maybe DB next. Something there. I think that's where they're going to be looking for, because kind of the way they're shaping this up. They got some of the other stuff. I think I would not be surprised if I see something along the lines or a defensive back today and tomorrow in free agency. We'll see what happens. What do you got?
Defensive back screams at you right now as far as a position where you need someone.
Big time. What do you got going on in the Sentinel so folks can check you out?
Man, just everything free agency right now. I think I wrote 5 different articles yesterday, along with Perk had another series of Dave Hyde had a column that he put out. So just a lot of content right now and everything free agency. So that's just what my week is. It's just everything free agency.
Are you like? I think Dave is one of those guys. Are you the media member that says, "Oh, for sure they're going to take a step back this year"?
Well, it's not as loaded of a roster is one thing. So it's not as all in as these past couple of years were, especially this past year in 2023. So I do have a fear that you sort of cautiously take the step back, and then you won't be good enough this year, and then you set yourself up to be better in the future seasons, but then you still won't be good enough in those seasons either. So that's my worry there.
How come everybody that has that or says that, they leave out all the injuries? What about if you're healthy at the end of the year? I think you'll be better than you were this year. How about that?
Yeah, if you're healthy, yes. If you're healthy, if this roster stays healthy, it'll be better than the end of the year roster of the past season. Absolutely.
So it has nothing to do with a couple of players that you lost.
But are you actually going to be healthy then?
Well, I mean, it's been the last 2 years. It hasn't been going on for 25. Okay. For 25 years, it's been incompetence and bad front offices and coaches and quarterbacks and, endless stuff that's gone on. The last 2 years, it's been really injuries and Mike McDaniel's lack of maturity on the sidelines right now. And that's where he has to grow up. So for me, if the Dolphins actually have a little luck, they'll be better than they were the last year because they'll be healthier. That's basically will put you at a much better advantage if you're healthier at the end of the year. Plus the additions you had in free agency and in the draft, maybe they also make an impact. And all of a sudden you could be better than you were last year. To me, it's way too early to determine that this team, when free agency hasn't finished and the draft hasn't finished, how do we predict that? That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's just at the starting point when you compare last year to what, and we still don't have the full roster yet this year, but you already know, they're going to be strapped as far as the type of big moves they can make.
Yeah, I'm with you.
But if they have better luck with injuries, they have a better roster for that final run. So it'll come down to that luck for sure. So I get what you're saying there.
Follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ and catch his work here twice a week doing it with our Welt Rheaume Miami Dolphins report. David, we will catch up on Friday, my friend. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Welt Rheaume, don't forget, call my guys at Welt Rheaume, 954-966-4646. Oh, I don't need a lawyer right now. All right, that's great. Save it on the cell phone. You may need it one day. 954-966-4646. They crushed Progressive Insurance when we had a bunch of kids playing Fast and Furious and went through the wall of our house. And they didn't want to pay what they were supposed to pay. And Welt Rheaume brought them to their knees, buddy. Okay? And they handle large cases. I told you about this like 8 months ago, a year ago, they were handling a case with like 180 clients. Okay. They take on the biggest companies, so they bring these insurance companies to their knees. So if you're dealing with bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury, call Jeff Welt right now. Jeff Welt and Daniel Rheaume, they know how to get it done. 954-966-4646. Jeff's a big Dolphins fan, a big Canes fan, big local sports fan, and he's a crypto guy now. I orange pilled him, and he is off and running. Good for him. Making money. Welt and Rheaume.